This is the Business of Apps podcast, bringing you actionable insights from the leaders of the global app industry and the world's fastest growing apps. You can find more app news, data and analysis over at businessofapps.com.
Welcome to the Business of Apps podcast. On this show, we invite app industry professionals to cover various topics. We promise to do our best to keep it both insightful but brief. On this episode, we have Sandra Wu, paid content marketing lead at Blinkist. Sandra, welcome to the Business of Apps podcast.
Thank you, Ard. How are you?
Doing great. So today we're going to talk about apps. And every once in a while, we all look for new apps for a specific occasion. Let's say, for example, you're going on a vacation and you're thinking about how I'm going to get tickets for public transportation that place. So you need an app. You pull up your smartphone, you launch the App Store app, you're looking for apps to choose from, and you're flipping through. You're thinking which one will be the right for me. And it happens for tens of thousands of people on a daily basis. So have you ever wondered what exactly makes you and all these people to choose a specific app? Have you ever wondered when you were looking at a specific app and you were reading its description and you were going like, what they were thinking when they were writing this description? It doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't give me a clue what the app is about. So now the question is to you as an app marketer, what do you need to tell her or him looking at your app on the screen and wondering if this is the one for me or not? And so today we're going to be talking about the ways how to do marketing copy for your app better. But before we will be diving into this topic, Sandra, please tell our listeners a bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm a Canadian living in Berlin. And I actually came here to the city because I was young and there were actually a lot of opportunities for internationals to work in startups. And 5 years later, I'm still here and I work at Blinkist, as you mentioned. And for those who don't know what Blinkist is, it's an app that tries to make people read more books, especially by offering lowdowns of the most popular nonfiction titles. And at Blinkist, as you mentioned, my title is called Paid Content Marketing Lead. It's very fancy, but what I do is I make content marketing work for user acquisition. And I do that through channels like Outbrain and Taboola. And I think a lot of people might not know what these networks are, but they're basically native advertising platforms, which buys ad space from every major news website in the world. And what they do is that they sell that ad space to people like us, where we can advertise our own articles. And I guess you can compare it with Facebook and Instagram, where they give you everyone who is active on social media. If you look at it like that, then Outbrain and Taboola can give you everyone who's reading the news online. So it's a huge network. And my job basically is we use these channels to distribute articles from our magazine, which is actually a sign-up funnel for our app. So you will see one of our articles on CNN or BBC, for example, and then you will click on it. And again, these articles don't appear on the main page. They appear underneath the articles under sections like you may like or from around the world. And if you click on those ads, you would end up on our magazine. And the magazine article would tell you a lot about our app and then drive you to the App Store. And this is a very profitable funnel for us. And we've been doing this for almost 4 years, and it is just as successful as channels like Facebook and Google for us.
I see. So you guys are doing kind of similar to what Taboola does, but more directly to apps. You're leading folks directly to the App Store.
Yeah, so there's a lot of advertisers who work with Outbrain and Taboola who would just use them for display ads. So it would be as soon as you click on the ad, you will go to the App Store. But what we're doing is that we have this extra step in between with our magazine, where people would actually read an article before we send them anywhere to sign up.
Right. So you're giving them a really good idea what the app is about. They're doing more conscious choice when they're going to the App Store to get an app.
Exactly.
But wait, for what part Canada are you?
I'm from Toronto.
Oh, nice.
Have you been to Toronto?
Yeah, I've been there a couple times and I miss the place.
Oh, it's really nice.
Yeah, it is for sure. Okay, so get back to the questions. Let's start with this one. So what starting point would you suggest to app brands and developers when they begin to craft marketing copy for an app? What kind of mindset should they have to be efficient?
So I guess my answer to that is, I think copywriting it's really not that different to sales. And most people don't really realize that. So I actually did a workshop at APS in Berlin last December just about this. I think, well, let's think of it this way. To produce good copy, I feel like everyone should know the answers to a few questions before they even pick up the pen or if they start typing. And I believe, like, okay, if you're going to write about your app, you should at least know, why does your app exist? Who's your target audience, and why should they choose you over the competition? And I think if you don't know the answers to these questions before you start writing copy, it's like the equivalent of someone going on Dragon's Den and not doing homework and like pitching without any context whatsoever. You cannot be successful unless you're thinking in a sales mindset.
All right, that's a great point. It's like writing a book without having any plot. Like, what would be? Why would you do that at all? So now let's talk a little bit about psychology. So when people are looking for an app on the App Store, they may consider a number of apps to choose from. So how do we help these people to choose a specific app? How to make a case for them to prefer this app to the others?
So I get this question quite a lot. So let's say your app is very generic, and I think this is the case it's very evident when you go to a conference and it's just like, oh, what's your app? And then people would say one thing, it's like, oh, I know this app. Isn't it called this? It's just like, no, it's called something else. And then you realize that there's actually there's so much competition. And I think if this is the case, then content marketing can actually provide a lot of value. So let's take the example of fitness apps. And this is actually something that I just did a search on recently. I was searching for at-home workouts in the App Store. And there's like at least two dozen options. And most of them, like you said, they have very similar names and descriptions. Maybe I would click on one or two just to check out what they are, but I would not choose an app this way. And what I would do instead is I would probably Google online, like, what's a good app for at-home workouts. And I will probably pick the one that has the most approval. And I think this is where content marketing or PR comes in. So the two are practically the same, except if you do content marketing for user acquisition purposes, you get your money back through signups and purchases, but at the same time you get so much publicity through it. And I think that's the beauty of advertising content. People actually share it. They remember it better. And before you know it, New York Times, TechCrunch, and The Guardian are all talking about you.
Right. So you're saying that you have to give people more context about an app. Like, it's not reasonable to assume that people will be grabbing your app right away without considering other apps. And if they have more places to read about the app, to get their head around what it does, why it's better, it's like many things that are just not possible to squeeze into the description of the App Store. So if you're giving all this background, multiple sources for information about the app, you're helping them to make up their mind and actually choose your app, preferring to the others, because you're getting the leg up on your competitors if you're laying out all this information around, right?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, right. So, by the way, did you get the app you were looking for?
No, in the end, I decided to just go to the gym. Yeah.
Good old offline technique, right? 3D suggestion, just go to the gym directly. All right. So, based on your experience as a content marketer, what is the key for a good marketing copy? Can you kind of summarize the idea, just kind of abstracting from any specific app category? Or maybe it's not possible. Maybe there's a specific suggestion for each app category.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. I think I could talk about this topic for hours. But I think I have one main advice for people who are just writing marketing copy. And that is, I think the key to actually writing good marketing copy is to judge it by the numbers instead of how nice it sounds. So in all the companies I've worked for, I feel like we have always placed too much value in just getting approval from colleagues when it comes to copy. So for example, if we wanted to come up with like a headline somewhere, it's like, okay, let's get 20 people's opinion on this, and then it takes forever to decide. And then everyone will have some sort of like really nice justification. It's like, oh, I think this is better because of some, like, I don't know, some personal interest or whatever. It's just like, okay, that's really nice, but in the end, you want something that actually performs. So I think instead of getting everyone's opinion on a piece of copy and then taking forever to launch it, I think what we should just do is just test faster, launch it faster, test it faster. If it doesn't perform, then you retire it, and then you come up with something better. And hopefully, like you're able to, you receive enough signals on what you should work on, so that you know what to try next. But I think the numbers in the end is what matters, not so much whether or not your colleague likes what you're publishing. I mean, obviously you want to be on brand, but as long as it's on brand, then I would just say like test as fast as you can instead of getting everyone's opinion on it.
Can you think of any like of generic guidelines in terms of the length of your marketing copy? Like, 5-6 paragraphs, split it in 4 or 5 lines, and using bullet points. Like, is it still a good idea to quote some publications that covered your app previously, like a quote from TechCrunch or something? Is it still working?
Well, so if you're just talking about articles, I think, you mentioned quite a lot of things, like are bullet points useful, or does it have to be short? I think that's pretty much what you're asking, is like, should it be 5 paragraphs or 8 paragraphs? A lot of that it's good to know, but it's not what actually converts in the end. So I think these are just like nice to have. Like maybe you want to introduce visuals or keep things short. But I think what's the most important is to keep in mind that people don't have a very long attention span nowadays. And that means you need to put everything that's important in the first third of the article. So if you're trying to sell a product, then don't spend half the article talking about something else and then plugging in your sales pitch at the end, because people will have given up by then. So just be as straightforward as possible and put everything that's important for people to know in the first third, and then nice to knows in the rest of the article.
I see. Thanks. This is a good advice. And remember that people on their smartphones, they will see screenshots first, and the description is like the second thing that they see when they're scrolling through the app marketing copy for your app. So you do have to deliver your the major points, the reason why this app exists in the first third part of your description. That's right on spot suggestion. So now I have a few questions for you. This is just a rapid fire questions. So are you iOS or Android person?
I am an Android person. I've been using my Samsung phone for close to 3 years now, and actually still works as well as it did on day one. I think it's more just like I don't like replacing my phone every year. I'd rather go with something that actually would last for a while. But they don't make phones like that anymore.
Yeah, well, it's totally fine not to replace them every year. It's a matter of choice and preference. So, by the way, do you still remember what was your first mobile phone?
My first mobile phone was, I don't even know, it's not even anything that anyone would know, but it was an LG phone. It was a flip phone as well, that I got in 2004. And it came out around the same time as the Motorola Razrs. I don't know if you remember those. I do remember. Yeah, and actually I think those phones were so cool. they actually look like it was like something out of science fiction to a teenager at the time. But I for some reason I was just like, okay, like maybe I can't get that phone, but I'll get something that's also a flip phone that's pink. So I opted for the second best option.
Right. So if you ever watched Matrix, you remember that Neo was holding the Razr from Motorola
Really? Yeah.
throughout the movie. Yeah, that was
Wow.
the best best advertising you can think of back in the day, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder what smartphone he will be holding these days. It's hard to say which one will be. Probably an iPhone 12 or 20 or 30 or something. What is your favorite app and why?
So I know I work in the app industry, but I actually try not to be on my phone too much. I actually have this rule where as soon as I go home, I just try to turn off my phone and no one can reach me. And then I can spend quality time with my family and all. But I do have an app that I use a lot of, and that's Splitwise. And the reason for that is because I've always hated talking about money with people. And it's just like, it's such an awkward topic. And I find with Splitwise, like it makes everything not so much of a taboo anymore. So I do appreciate this app. I wouldn't say it's my favorite one, but it's a good one.
You just gave people a perfect suggestion not to spend too much on their smartphones. Yeah, it's kind of hard to do, but you still have to remember that there's a family, there are friends around you, there are people who need your attention, and smartphone should be just the tool to help in this communication with other people, not replacing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, can you think of the app that is mostly overrated? Kind of a lot of hype about this app, but actually it doesn't deserve it.
Well, I have a very controversial answer for you. I don't use Instagram, and actually most of my friends just don't understand why. And I live very far away from home, and they're just like, we have no idea what's going on with you. Are you still alive?
Oh my God.
Yeah, well, but like nowadays, like people don't use Facebook anymore, and they're just like, I stay in touch with my friends on Instagram. Why don't you get Instagram? But I think for me, I agree. Like, I think it's a really great way to keep up with your friends and to know what's going on in their lives. But I think it's also really terrible for young people who are just developing their self-esteem. I feel like it makes them pursue this perception of this perfect life instead of actually being true to themselves. I guess like this is also why I didn't get Instagram to begin with, which is also like I'm just normally like too lazy to be posting something every single day. But yeah, like I think to me, just like I actually am happier with my life, not knowing how glamorous everyone else's life is. And actually, I think I'm really curious about how this is going to affect the next generation of young people growing up, because it's like a Black Mirror episode to me.
Yeah, this is precisely that. We're actually completely on the same page. It's not a controversial point for me because Instagram used to be an app to share the, great moments in your life. But it wasn't like something that you were supposed to be doing like all the time. It wasn't necessary. It wasn't, obligatory thing to follow because everybody else do. It's just, it is grown out of proportion, on so many levels. And I'm kind of it's hard for me to wrap up my head around about, this trend of, keeping in touch on Instagram. Well, you can still keep it in touch using instant messaging, or just, calling people, it's like TikTok is kind of replacing for younger generation Instagram, at least in China. We'll see. Like India is, is really big on TikTok these days. The jury's out what the influence will be. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm not sure what the influence of Instagram will be in the next generation because as much as we would like to, control when what age kids are getting their smartphones, and it should be at least 15, 13 years, which is too low as well, but at least 13. But how can you really control the thing if you're not controlling a teenager in other regards? Anyway, it's kind of sad point. So, and now, can you think of new technologies that you're most excited about?
Well, so I'm actually most excited about how apps are being used in the classroom. So when I say classroom, I mean like it could be like a high school classroom or a university classroom. But I think in general, the education industry can use a lot of innovation, and especially when it comes to like teaching more relevant materials and also how they evaluate success, and maybe like paying more attention to each student rather than just teaching a class of 200 exact same material. And I'm not sure if you've heard of Khan Academy.
No, it doesn't ring a bell for me.
I think I saw this. I saw this interview with the founder once. It was probably even 5 years ago. And actually, it really resonated with me. But basically, it started by this guy who was just teaching his niece, or maybe cousin, but it was a family member who couldn't guess certain math problems, and he started doing a lot of tutorials for her, and then he was uploading these videos onto YouTube, and then these videos became so popular that actually Bill Gates started looking at them, and he was just like, "Wait, I've created these for my teenage relative, not for Bill Gates." And then he started reviewing all this, and then there was actually like something to it. So he actually grew this up as a product. So you can learn about so many different subjects with Khan Academy, and now it's like actually used in classrooms quite a lot. Where I guess in classrooms where people could afford to have iPads for every student, where they will all be learning about the same topic, but at different levels. So like there are always going to be some kids who will learn things much faster than others. That's okay. They don't have to wait for everyone else to catch up, and like vice versa for those kids who need a little bit more time to understand certain topics. They can take that time instead of moving the whole class as one. And in this sense, like actually, I feel like kids are actually learning these topics instead of just trying to jot down as many notes as possible, which might not make sense to them, and then not really fully getting the topic. But as long as they pass the exams, this will be okay. I think this model of educating young people doesn't work anymore, and I'm hoping that apps like Khan Academy can actually introduce the innovation that we really need in education.
Oh yeah, I do hear you. I have a teenage daughter, and education is something that is on my mind for quite in a big way, because the education system is kind of overdue for disruption and improving, because it doesn't work as it stands now. So I do appreciate these new technologies like you were just describing. It reminds me of great courses that is really fantastic. You can read, you can listen and watch from people who are really professionals in their respected areas. Physics, biology, art, math, anything, but basically. So I hope it's going to be a really good way, and it is a good way for younger generation to get the knowledge they need to live their lives and be, really grounded and just get a nice job. And and before I let you go, could you please tell people how they can get in touch with you and get more information?
Sure. So you can follow me on LinkedIn, or even just add me. Just search for Sandra Wu from Blinkist. And I'm also actually putting together an online course that will be specifically online copywriting course that will be released soon. And if you want to sign up for that, just go to bit.ly/writinghat. So that's bit.ly/writing, WRITING, and then hat, HAT, without any spaces or dashes.
All right, we're going to put this link into the show notes so people can check this out. Thanks a lot for your time to be on the podcast. Thanks a lot, Sandra.
Thank you, Art. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that was Sandra Wu, paid content marketing lead at Blinkist. To listen to more episodes, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. Just search for Business of Apps and you will find us easily. Once you subscribe, you will be able to get new episodes on your smartphone, tablet, or computer as soon as we release them. And please don't forget to leave a review or a comment. It is highly appreciated. And all these episodes will also be available on businessofapps.com. Till the next time, bye.
Thank you for listening to the Business of Apps podcast. For more, head on over to businessofapps.com.